Welcome back to the Procyon Insurgency for Freespace 2 here on Paladin Gaming, going to the 13th mission, Eye of the Storm, having just transferred to the 74th Shadow Knights. Welcome to the GTD Delphi, Vasudin. I'm Commander Barnes of the 74th Shadow Knights. In view of your exceptional performances with the 228th Squadron, I made a special request for your temporary transfer to our unit while the Sekham undergoes its repairs. Our squadron has some of the most skilled pilots in the GTVA as we fly Pegasus stealth fighters beyond the front lines and supply command with critical reconnaissance data. We also work closely with the Alliance's Espionage Division, Special Operations Command. It is January 12th, 2369, 0845 hours. We have just received information that Commodore Sriv, the CEO of the corvette Reform and a very highly ranked PCA officer, has covertly left his warship as it was being resupplied. His transport, the PCT Glaucus, is heading for a remote sector near the orbital plane of Procyon 10. Sriv evidently wants to avoid any attention, even from within the PCA, but his exact objectives are unclear. We suspect that he is planning a secret meeting with someone and have devised a plan to spy on his actions. So it's an Elysium transport. Alpha 2, you will be carrying a T-473 Autonomous Embedded Communication Intercept drone, a special GTVI-designed robotic device that latches onto a ship and taps into any conversations inside, transmitting an audio feed back to base. You will have to close in on the enemy transport, scan the ship, and place the AECI drone on its hull. The drone is delivered to its target by means of a standard tactical missile with a massed engine to minimize the heat signature. The sensor scrambling equipment on our Pegasus fighters will prevent enemy ships from tracking us on radar. The Pegasus is also designed to be nearly impossible to see at a distance, but if you stray within about 1 kilometer of an enemy fighter, they may well get a visual on your ship. So stay aware of your surroundings and don't let any PCA fighters close in. You'll have to stick to your cruising engine, since your afterburners will give off a strong heat signature that enemy sensors can easily detect at medium ranges. Needless to say, don't fire any weapons either, an action that will surely give you away. Once we have the information we need, Command will attempt to take control of the area, and if possible, board the Glaucus and capture Sriv. The corvette Parapet will jump in to spearhead this phase of the operation. The Pegasus can only carry minimal armaments, so I recommend we both equip ourselves with Tag B warheads to assist the Parapet in taking down enemy fighters. If he's doing this in secret, do we really expect PCA fighters, though? Alright. Primary objectives: use the AECI drone to determine Commodore Sriv's intentions, and secondarily, capture Commodore Sriv. So, as promised, we are flying the Pegasus stealth fighter. So Alpha 1 has 2 banks of Tag Bs, and I have a bank of Tag Bs and this here tactical drone. Special issue. 200 meters per second projectile speed. Homing aspect 1.0. Range 400 meters, so I gotta get relatively close. And we can do better than the Subak. Alright. Seems good. Let's hit it. Alright. Hello there, Alpha 1. Just our engine out of sense. We're not shooting anyway. The Glaucus is jumping in. We're just in time. Taurus 3 is one of ours, an SOC operative who has worked undercover in the PCA since its formation. She's been informed of our presence and will update us with any relevant information. Alpha, listen quickly. Commodore Sriv is on the Glaucus. We weren't told much, but a second transport is expected to arrive any minute now. Alright, so he's brought 3 Hercs. There we are. The second transport has jumped in. Looks like they brought a heavy escort. I'll say it's a Leviathan. Alpha, just a heads up. The ships you see are Ares strategic assault fighters. That's not. Placed in the testing about 20 months ago. A few prototypes from service among Terran fleets. I don't recognize the other fighters. That's clearly an Apollo. The fire some species special forces squad, keep your distance. We must do this quickly. Alpha 2, move in and launch the drone out of the Phalyra. You must avoid the enemy fighter escorts. Alpha 1, stay back until the drone is in place. Don't use afterburners. Enemies near you appear on the escort list. La-di-da. Let's adjust our radar range down to 2 kilometers so we can cut the chaff out. You're getting close to one of the fighters. Be careful. Oh, this is tense. Close to one of the fighters, be careful. Good, now you only need to place the drone. Nice work, the drone will start transmitting momentarily. Hopefully it will pick up something useful. Return to my position and keep away from enemy fighters. Acquiring audio feed and calibrating data. Alright, I should be able to get out. Yep, they're all behind me. Okay, rendezvous with Alpha 1. Alright, so Alpha 1 is the only green dot. So I exfiltrated on the wrong side of the group. I'm going to have to circle around the long way to avoid that. It's probably not going to start giving me the audio feed until I'm well clear. Until I'm actually rendezvous with Alpha 1, that is. I should be well clear enough to get over to Alpha 1. Because that guy's still registering as the closest target, 3.5 kilometers away. Alright. No afterburner. I can see him 3 kilometers out against the glimmer of the stars, but if you're not looking for him, if I didn't know he was there, I certainly wouldn't see him. Gonna need those here in a minute. Let's form back on his wing. Audio feed acquired. Transmitting with JLS and 5.97 encryption, whatever that means. All of the crates in Section C to the Phalyra's cargo bay. Be extremely careful not to damage anything. Yes, sir. We'll have everything moved over in about 10 minutes. Supreme Admiral, I am at your service. Oh boy, it's Dasmar. Good morning, Commodore. I assume you have the artifacts. Good God, that's Dasmar himself. What is he doing here? They are being transferred to your ship as we speak, sir. Although the enemy escaped with a few items, we still have the pole reversing codes. Solid work. Come with me to the conference room. I have sensitive matters to discuss. We are alone now. I want you to be discreet about this meeting, as I trust you alone to fully understand my goals and help me make them a reality. I am placing you and the Reform in charge of our upcoming operations in the Frontier system. There are several tasks we need to complete there before we are forced to retreat from Procyon. Retreat? But why? Our forces have clearly had the upper hand for the last week. We took down the corvette Messinet and its fighter escort wings just yesterday. We are indeed pushing back the GTVA admirably, but will not last. 2 additional enemy fleets will soon arrive in Procyon, and we won't stand a chance against them. When we entered Epsilon Pegasi 3 weeks ago, I had hoped to instigate a popular uprising. If all had gone well, the war-torn GTVA would have been forced to cede the system altogether. Unfortunately, our actions only served to provoke the enemy into action. Much has gone wrong for us since then, and we have now been pushed all the way back to Procyon. I have come to realize that, at this point, our victories in Procyon will buy us some much-needed time, but will only delay the inevitable. At least he's a realist. Then you consider the PCA and all that we have fought for to be a failed endeavor? I regret that my plans could not have been more successful, but there is a much greater purpose at hand here. A critical turning point in Vasudan and Terran history will soon be upon us. You already know of our amazing discovery 4 months ago. It carries more significance to our future than you perhaps realize. So far, I've only given you glimpses of our real purpose, but it is time you learned the whole truth. I want to direct your attention to the GTD Hades, the GTI's experimental super destroyer. It is common knowledge that the Hades was destroyed in 2337 before it was fully completed. What is less well known is that it was one of 2 identical prototypes built by the GTI. The second warship was named the Saturn. While the Hades was developed to spearhead the overthrow of the GTA, the Saturn was designed to explore the furthest reaches of the galaxy. Very interesting, sir. You confirm what I've suspected for a while now. What happened? So they didn't build it. The Saturn's mission was apparently to trace back the source of the original Shivan incursion. At the time of the Jotunheim assault, it had been dispatched to Ross 128. Did they find anything? The Shivan seemingly came out of nowhere at the beginning of the Great War. Nothing of the sort. That is the clumsiest of fabrications upheld by the Alliance. The Saturn had been sent to enter a Gnosos device there, found and opened by GTI in early 2335. I see. So they've known about these portals much longer than they care to admit. And the Shivans obviously came through there. Does this mean the GTI was indirectly responsible for starting the Great War? Did they even realize what their actions would lead to? Well, probably not. Nobody knew about the Shivans. I think it is very unlikely. Still, there is a remote possibility that was mandated by the GTA League of Defense in a desperate act to end the Terran-Vasudan War and force a treaty. VTC had picked up hints of the portal's existence by this point. Shortly after the Hades was destroyed, they sent 3 fighter wings deep into enemy territory to investigate further. As a Toth pilot, I was the leader of the team. We silently made our way to Ross 128, launched a surprise attack on the GTI units at the Gnosos, and eliminated them all. And he's old. In 2337, wasn't the Terran-Vasudan Treaty in full effect by that point? Indeed. However, both GTI and VTC had an interest in keeping silent about the incident, so it was never publicized. That flies in the face of our efforts in silent threat. Upon traversing the portal, we found ourselves in a thick gas cloud, which I later discovered was within the NGC 6720 nebula. The dense black fog severely inhibited visibility. The Saturn lay right ahead of us. The ship had taken only minor damage, but was completely disabled and lacked any electronic activity. We briefly attacked, but they seemed oblivious to our presence. I eventually ordered 2 of my men to land inside and investigate. The warship's entire crew had seemingly vanished without a trace. Their fate remains unknown to this day. A mass evacuation? It remains our only explanation. The Saturn's crew was, as it is today, very small for a ship of its size. The question is why, and where did they go? More remarkable, however, were the events that followed. We had the misfortune of encountering a Shivan destroyer. A colossal swarm of dragon fighters, perhaps 15 wings, came after us. That's not something that Shivans typically do, thankfully for Alpha 1. My wingmen were massacred in the ensuing battle. I nearly joined them, but as I fled, I suddenly detected hundreds of incoming jump signatures behind me. I could not see or target the newcomers. Within seconds, my pursuers were totally wiped out by what I can only describe as a torrent of crystalline shards. Now think back for a moment. Does that remind you of anything we've seen in the past? The shards of conquest in the ancient writings. Are you saying they still exist? Yes, precisely, and in vast numbers, too. Somewhere out there, the clash between these great forces of nature, a conflict that has lasted for over 400,000 years, still continues to this day. As you know, 4 months ago, the PCA made the most important discovery in Terran and Versudan history, the coincidence of our origins. This knowledge alone is the key to our continued survival in space. It also explains the Shivan's actions in the Great War, who recognized us in a way which we ourselves never could. I can see that you're beginning to understand the true significance of our recent findings. I am telling you all this because that transmitter we have is the real focus of our next operation. What about the Saturn? How did it end up in our possession? Transmitter. 2 years later, we returned to the nebula with a larger force. VTC was planning to capture the floating derelict for a highly classified research initiative. With the GTA having collapsed years ago and all the Terran systems in regional chaos, we encountered no resistance and silently hauled the destroyer to a remote VTC facility in Adhara. The Saturn had scarcely arrived when the Imperial seized control in Vasuda. The top PVN and VTC commanders were all executed for treason, and the Adhara outpost was soon abandoned. That's it? There was no further mention of the destroyer? None at all. At that point, there were less than 10 individuals who knew of the Saturn's existence and were still alive. 6 years ago, however, under my immediate direction, the 7th Battle Group in Adhara took over the base in the highest secrecy. I wanted to equip the warship with the ancient weaponry I had uncovered earlier. In other words, you knew what we would be facing and seized upon an opportunity. I can only admire your foresight there, sir. So you've known about this Procyon portal since then? Much longer, in fact. After the VPE was disbanded, I had to start my own private investigations into what I had seen. I forged a covert partnership with certain elements in the Hammer of Light. I presume you fell out with them? The only thing we ever had in common were our enemies. Their religious fanaticism was bound to fail, but they were masters in discovering and interpreting the ancient artifacts. They had found a relic that the GTVA would now kill millions to acquire. A map of the ancient's vast network of Knossos portals, stretching across galaxies and connecting innumerable star systems. And among them must have been Procyon. Where is this artifact now? It may have been destroyed during Operation Templar, but that is of no consequence to us. We now seek a much greater treasure, the other component. As you know, we recently learned that one component had already been discovered during the Terran-Vasudan War and had been in the Alliance's possession for many years. It was stored at a GTVI facility in Mirfak, but was to be transferred to Alphard this month, possibly for destruction. This forced my hand. We had to act immediately, and so we did. Although our Epsilon Pegasus campaign failed, we got what we wanted. The Vasudan half is ours, in spite of the SOC's best efforts. It is now our duty to put the Ancient's great plan into effect. But we only have half. Where's the other component? For all we know, it could still be floating around in Sol. I know we can get it because I have seen it. What? During the first VTC operation, I saw it where I saw the Saturn. I did not even recognize what it was until last month when we acquired its twin. But why did you leave it there? Our objective was the Saturn. I had no idea what the component was or even its exact location. I had stumbled upon it by pure coincidence 2 years earlier. Does that mean we failed? Fighting our way to Ross 128 is out of the question. Patience, my friend. I soon learned that GTI Task Force had managed to retrieve it during the 2 years in between. What did they intend to do with it? That is one question I have no definite answer to. GTI's investigations into these matters had taken them further than I think anyone realized. However, as fortune would have it, the last known location of the GTI group was right here in Procyon. I think you can deduce where they are now. Yes, I'm starting to see what you're getting at here, Admiral. Our mission will be the final culmination of all these events, but it sounds like the GTI never actually knew what it was. Perhaps, or it could be that they knew something about it that we don't. In any case, everything is now falling into place. The unexpected recovery of the Agni has provided us with a new line of attack to recover this component. I am certain that we shall succeed. And the records we recently uncovered on Procyon 7.6 are the final piece of this puzzle. They have resolved the main question I've tried to answer for the last 30 years. However, I want to take every possible precaution before we put our plan into action. What is the status of the Agni? The repairs and modifications to the Agni are nearly complete. We expect to send the cruiser into the portal tomorrow. Oh, no you don't. Excellent job. I will go to Apis Station and oversee this operation personally. What about the Meson bombs? They may be superfluous now, but I suggest we still keep them in position just in case something goes wrong. I agree. Our forces for this mission will be limited. The Saturn will be vital in holding back the GTVA and must remain in Procyon. I trust that we did not lose anything significant during the Allied raid on our excavation site. Not directly, sir, but I must say that our failure with this circuit hasn't helped our cause at all. That incident has allowed the GTVA propaganda machine to go into full flow. The Emperor in particular spared no pains to paint us as a bastion of evil, as he put it. Yes, the Emperor. There is rather more to his agenda than meets the eye. He was the main driving force behind the SDE. I believe that the GTVA's refusal to disclose any information on these issues is ultimately due to his influence. It is patently clear that he is hiding something. The Vasudan Imperium is almost certainly aware of the real truth behind the Ancients, but the Emperor has chosen to conceal it. Why? What does he stand to gain from doing this? Unclear. When we attacked Epsilon Pegasi, one of my objectives was to determine this. Our spies in the GTVI have failed to turn up anything. Is the Alliance aware of everything you've told me? Do they know what the transmitter component actually does? I'm not certain exactly how much they know, but they must have learned something. They have studied the component for decades. Which makes Khonsu's actions all the more indefensible. He is an utter disgrace to our species either through malice or sheer incompetence. Ooh. However, once our mission is complete, we'll be unstoppable. We will return to Procyon one day, cut through the Alliance systems, and topple their seat of power, leading our civilization forward into... Pilots, we have seen enough. This is a golden opportunity to take Desmar by surprise and capture his transport. We're sending in the Parapet immediately. Damn, GTVA units jumping in. Bridge, engage subspace drives immediately. Set course for the Xanthus shipyards. So much for that. Yeah, right. So just this cruiser. Now setting course to attack the Annexar. Why isn't it fleeing? Alpha, we've allocated our anti-fighter beam turrets to the tag system. Target inbound enemy fighters with your tag missiles and we'll take them down from long range.
Hostiles approaching fast! Hostiles approaching fast. Rearming complete, sir. You're good to go.
There it goes. The NXR has been neutralized. There's nothing more we can do here. Pilots, you will disregard all data acquired by the drone. The communications are classified at the highest level by direct orders from the Security Council. Return to base. Parapet, you gonna return to base? Alright, that's fine. You're not my concern. Alright, well, that was quite an info dump. Good work placing the drone, Alpha 2. Although we were unable to effect the capture, we managed to overhear a very important conversation between Dasmar and Sriv. The transcripts have been classified level Omega, accessible only by those immediately authorized by the GTVA Security Council, but we've gained some very interesting and unexpected knowledge of the Siren's history and the PCA's possible origins and goals. However, off the record and strictly between us, I must admit that I found some of Dasmar's comments disturbing, to say the least. He made several vague references to the Ancients, but could there really be dark forces at work within the GTVA itself? How much are our leaders hiding from us, and what was the most important discovery he referred to? I think you share my concerns, but for now I suggest you keep them to yourself. And I made double ace with that one kill. Must have been right on the edge. 1 kill and 1 assist. Must have been right on the edge of double ace, so that'll tell us what the threshold is at any rate. 1 Herc Mark II. Bringing our all-time total kills to 203. That's an odd cutoff. So, that was the Eye of the Storm. The 13th mission of the Procyon Insurgency here on Paladin Gaming, and quite an info dump it was. This is Paladin Gaming, signing off.